Dr. Lokman for agreeing to do this interview and to explain the methodology of your new paper. So just a quick reminder for our viewers. You had already published one article last year, which had flagged 14 universities around the world for questionable research publication practices. Right? Of those 14 universities, five were Indian universities. Right? Your latest study is an update on that previous study, right? And you have flagged more universities this time than previously, but the countries where those universities belong, they kind of remain the same. So it is still India, Saudi Arabia, and I saw also there was one university from UAE and one from Lebanon, right? Uh, Firstly, right, the first question which comes to our mind, right, especially when we're in India, is that why are there no universities from Pakistan and China? While we know that in retraction statistics, Pakistan and China are much higher than India is, right? So is Saudi Arabia, and we see a lot of universities of Saudi Arabia in study as well as India, but there are no universities of Pakistan and China. So maybe you could explain to us, what is the reason behind this?
Very good. This is an excellent question. Uh, uh, Although this is like an updated or a follow-up study to the previous one that was published a few months ago, but it is really quite different in many ways, methodologically and even the finding and so on. But regarding your question, you are absolutely right. Why? Uh, it's because of the selection method that was used. Initially, I used only and focused only on two thresholds that prioritized institutions with extreme research growth in a short period of time, and also sharp declines in lead authorship positions, specifically first and corresponding authors. And none of the Pakistani and Chinese universities really met these two thresholds. But I should emphasize that as a result of this study, I had to come up with a method or a tool that that helps identify similar universities that are uh, engaged in uh, the practices that I discuss in the study. So I came up with this RI square index. And if you look at the last table in the study, it provides a list of the 50 universities with a red flag for integrity risk. And in that list, there are actually 8 universities from Pakistan and 3 universities from China that are red flagged for questionable research practices and or publishing practices. So I think the short answer is it's a limitation of the study methodology. Why none of the universities from Pakistan and China are included in the study group. And that's why I very much like the RI square index, because it did not only help validate the method that I used, the selection method that I used, but it also helped identify uh, universities that couldn't be captured by the method that I used, the selection method that I used. So if anyone wants to really know uh, or have a broader picture of universities engaged in questionable publishing practices, I think they should refer to uh, the table at the end of the study or RI square index. And speaking of RI square index, very soon I'll be launching a website named ri2index.org, in which I list and will continuously update it, a list of the 1,000 or 1,500 most publishing universities with their RI square score and rank.
So I'm looking forward to that website. But
Sure.
if I understand it correctly, so what you're saying is that the RI square index that you have created, is a better measure for flagging universities than your previous methodology.
Correct.
Right. So my second question that brings me to the second question, which was regarding your previous methodology, which a lot of people critiqued as well. The filter that one of the filters that you used was extreme growth, right? And the second filter that you used was a drop in the percentage of first or corresponding author, right? So could you explain the rationale behind the second filter? Because the first filter is quite evident, but the second filter might not be very evident for everyone. Right? So could you explain the rationale behind why you chose that filter?
Sure. Uh, I'm glad also that you asked this question. It's really very important. And I was asked not asked, I was actually given feedback and some criticism for focusing only on first authorship in the previous study. This is why in this new study I added the corresponding author.
Mhm.
But even the first author is really extremely important. Both first author and corresponding authors are widely recognized as proxies for intellectual leadership and accountability or oversight. So it's very important to use them. At the same time, well, before saying at the same time, uh, uh, so a significant drop, well, a normal drop in first authorship rate and corresponding authorship rate is really normal and expected from one year to another and so on. It can go up a little, go down a little, but when the drop is so sharp, that raises questions. Now, I totally understand that in some fields like mathematics, economics, they use they list
Alpha.
authors or co-authors alphabetically,
Mhm.
but such articles really are relatively negligible in numbers, especially when you deal with a large aggregates such as a university publications overall. Like, so we are talking out of thousands of articles per year. How many of those are actually articles where the authors are listed alphabetically? Very small percentage. So I don't think uh, this is why I think focusing on first and corresponding authors is really extremely important and valid, and it won't affect the results at all if many of the articles are they have authors listed alphabetically and so on. And I also want to emphasize that corresponding author, even in articles where authors are listed alphabetically, it can be an author anywhere on the byline. So this gives a lot of significance to the corresponding author data.
Uh, so,
Uh,
a related question to this is what kind of questionable practice might lead? So, what kind of questionable research practice might lead to a drop in the first authorship? Right. So, what kind of is it like because of paper milling? Is it gift authorship? What kind of practice might lead to a reduction in the number of
oh,
percentage of papers from first author?
I think this tells you that they have done something strategically different,
Mhm.
and this steep decline is definitely not organic. It's a result of new practices that were introduced at the institutions.
Mhm.
Uh, Such as, let's say, and based on other published studies like sold authorship, paper mills, relying on paper mills, and reciprocal type of collaboration and so on. So this is why, because there's really no uh, other way to explain the huge decline in first and corresponding authorship rate. Uh, it's not supposed to fluctuate to this extent. I mean, some institutions they had like first authorship rate like about 60 or 70% only 5 years ago. Today it is less than 20%. I mean, it's not plausible.
Right. Yes, I think that makes sense that due to some questionable practices, especially the things that we talked about, there is possibility that the institutions might be changing their strategy, as you said, and that is why we might see a drop in the first authorship rate. That makes sense, and yeah, it now it is plausible. Of course, your study definitely does not point out any, does not definitely say that anything is wrong, but it definitely flags, right, that there is something which is amiss. There is some problem which has to be looked at. Right. The next thing I wanted to ask you is that in the new study, right, so you look at the citations in 2018 and 19, and you compare it with 2023 and 2024, right? So in between, there are some gap years, right? So from 2020 to 2020, or 2019 to 2023, right, that you have not considered the data. So what is the reason behind not considering the data in between? And yeah, could you explain the rationale behind that choice?
I think I did this for two reasons. One is uh, these 3 years, the 2020, 2021, and 2022, would have introduced noise, and it would have limited the clarity in showing the difference in 5 years. I mean, I only wanted to focus or have the readers focus on what the before and after, or what happened in 5 years. So I didn't want to really provide intermediate data, and it would have like diluted the focus, or it would have altered the attention of the readers. The other important reason is I wanted to minimize the impact of COVID years.
Mhm.
So for the first study, one feedback I received from a reader saying like, maybe your results were influenced by COVID. And so this was another reason, like let's remove any distortions that might have been caused by COVID pandemic. So this is why, uh, and plus visually speaking, when in charts and maps and so on, it is more interesting to show like 2018, 19 versus 5 years later what happened. So I don't care about in the middle. Although the middle was a transitional period, so there was like uh, some increases. In other cases, the drastic increase, actually, in almost all of the 18 cases, the drastic increase in research output and research behavior, changes in research behavior, actually happened in 2022, and uh, and then 2023, it was really the peak, and it is increasing.
Right. That makes sense. Another auxiliary question regarding this is that maybe people can say that this is cherry picking because there are only single years, right? 2018, 19 and 2023, 24, which have been considered. Maybe, and this is just the feedback, that maybe you can include a couple of years, right? So maybe 2017 to 19, that basically enlarge the size so that it does not depend on that single year and nobody accuses you of any cherry picking, right? Because when we use single year, then we know that the statistics, might differ much more than if you take an average over a bigger span, right? So maybe you can consider that in your next iteration. But
Well,
and I don't. Hmm. Yeah, I
yeah, that's an
totally.
excellent idea. Thank you very much. I think I will add something in the supplementary material so that whoever wants to really see the progress, or the difference over the years, the developments over the year, they can go to the supplementary material. Thank you.
That will be great. And yeah, I understand that you wanted to avoid the COVID years, and that makes perfect sense. We know that a lot of distortion happened during the COVID years, so we don't want to include that in the analysis. Yeah. So the next question was, this was more to explain to our viewers in the figure 9, right? That what is the message and what is the key findings, right? And it will be better if you can do it because you since you have created the table, you'll have better view. So I'll share my screen so that you can see the table.
Very good. Uh, this is an very
Sorry,
interesting
sorry.
chart.
Just a sec. Sorry, yeah, I have a glitchy
This
icon.
okay.
Hmm. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. The chart illustrates the difference in collaboration network from 2018-19 to 2023-24. In 2018-19, what is listed here are all of the institutions within the 18 universities that comprise the study group, and it connects one university to the other in case one university was considered a major collaborator, where and a major collaborator is considered that institution that was a co-author on at least 2% of another institution's research output in those 2 years. So in 2018-19, you will see that very few universities really were considered a major collaborator with another university within the study group. And actually, five of India's universities are not even, they don't even appear in 2018-19 as a major collaborator to any of the other institutions within the study group. Not only that, the rarity of the collaboration among the study groups, you will see in 2023 how the collaboration increased incredibly. This is also not considered organic at all because you don't form that many collaborations with, and it's not any kind of collaboration. It is a collaboration with institutions that make up at least 2% of your entire research output.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you an example, the Lebanese American University,
Mm-hmm.
I think they don't even show up on this map in 2018-19,
Mm-hmm.
went all the way up to having 11 of the study group members being major collaborators to the university, along with about 30 other universities. So it went up from having almost 4 or 5 major collaborators, none of which were among the study group members, all the way to over 40 major collaborators. 11 of them are within the study group. So
Mm-hmm.
again, this kind of dense network of collaboration doesn't happen within 5 years. Usually it takes, honestly, decades to form major collaboration with other institutions. Now, if there were only 2 or 3 new major collaborators, I would understand, but you don't do dozens of
Mm-hmm.
major collaborators within just 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
And
from yeah,
yes,
yeah, go ahead,
uh,
sir.
no, I think that's it. It's not organic. No, it's not plausible to do this kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I don't want to speculate, but I think it's also related to uh, maybe paper mills and because and this might come up with the issue of multi-affiliation and so on. So the same paper is attributed to multiple institutions from within the study group and so on and on. And I think I showed a few examples in the study. Actually, one thing I did not report in the study probably is that these 18 universities, if you look at the only those authors who contributed at least 10 articles per institution within only the last 2 years, they have in common about 400 authors, meaning 400 authors have contributed more than 10 articles to more than one study group university in
Mm-hmm.
2023, 2024. Now, how significant this number is, I'm still trying to figure that out before reporting.
Right. So as you mentioned, right, multi-affiliation authors. So we have in the past seen some authors who in a single paper have reported 6 affiliations. And this was a mathematics paper, which presumably does not require resources from all the 6 different universities, lab equipments and things like that. And these six universities were, most of them were part of the 18 that you have flagged in your study, right? So it seems that it is possible that some authors, right, since they are publishing papers with multiple affiliations, maybe the network that you see is probably those authors, because then you will get right, if one author publishes just one paper, it will be counted as a connection between all those universities, right? All the six different universities. And maybe I think that it's my opinion again, and I haven't done the whole analysis. But maybe you can look at how multiple affiliations might be actually affecting, as you mentioned, right? The 400 authors who have these 10 papers across the different universities, right? So I think multiple affiliations is probably going to play a big part in explaining that the network that you have shown in your graph, right? So, but of course, I don't know how to go about conclusively showing that. But it is something probably that, in my experience, I think it is probably one of the major reasons why we see this difference in 2018-19 from 2023-24. Right? So, yeah, thanks for the
Thank you.
yeah, thanks for the explanation. And yeah, I think this is very interesting also for us to look at, right, to see. So some of it could also be, right. So probably you are aware, but that a lot of universities they sign MOUs. So they have this memorandum of understanding, right, between each other. And maybe another thing that we could look at is how many of these universities already have an MOU signed with each other, and when was that MOU signed? Right. So if, for example, I'm just taking University X and University Y of this study group, right? If they have an MOU signed, let's say in 2021, right? And then we suddenly see a spike in the co-authorship, right? That could also be one explanation of that spike. Now, of course, again, it is not very organic, right? Suddenly, as you mentioned, it cannot, so you cannot suddenly have, 2% of your papers collaboration with another university. But that could end also help us explaining uh, that why is this citation network so similar? Because, but I don't know if the MOU data is, how public it is, how easy it is to gather. But it is probably also something one can look at. I'll also try from my side, right, to make sense of this, and if I find anything, I'll report to you. Next question. So in this table, you're showing that the percentage of articles in top 2% cited
Yes,
articles for the study group universities has increased a lot, right?
yes,
We see that overall in top 2% there's been 2,869% increase, right? Whereas overall there's only 760% increase, and we can also see compared to the regional group, right, which have a very modest increase, right, or sometimes even decrease. Now on the surface, right, this looks like a good thing, right? So if a university has more articles in the top 2%, most cited articles, then this seems like a good thing, right? So can you explain why this might be problematic, or why do you think this is an something which should be flagged?
uh, okay. If I understood your question, uh, the top 2% citations, uh, most cited articles, uh, if you look at internationally and regionally, the proportion of articles highly classified as highly cited remained almost the same for the regional or increased a little, whereas for the international group, it actually declined and declined considerably.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason why it declined, uh, I'm still working on it, and I generated the evidence for that. Actually, it's largely because the, their highly cited articles are being pushed down the list by these articles classified as highly cited among the study group
Mm-hmm.
universities. But we provide evidence, or I provided evidence, that most of the citations to highly cited papers among the study group are a result of self-citations.
Mm-hmm.
and reciprocal type of citations. So you cite my articles, I cite yours, and should we exclude actually the research output of the study group
Mm-hmm.
from all of the highly cited publications worldwide? You will see that the the percentage of highly cited papers among the international group, you will see that it actually remained the same in 2000, in 2023, 2024 compared to 18 and 19.
Okay.
So this like gives you some kind of an evidence that if the study group, and actually it's not only the study group, it's actually the 50 universities red flagged for RI square.
Mm-hmm.
So if the publication of these 50 universities, the highly cited are removed from the 140,000 highly cited publication, you will see that there's more stability among the rest of the universities worldwide in terms of uh, comparative data from 1819 to 2324 in terms of highly cited articles.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
that.
something I actually going to add to the manuscript before I submit it for publication for potential publication.
Mm-hmm.
I'll add it today actually.
Great. Right. That makes sense. From what I understood, you're saying that the amount of articles in top 2% cited articles for the study group will decrease considerably if we exclude the citations from the study group itself. And that will make much more sense than what the data we are seeing right now. And this is probably due to self citations or collaborative citations amongst the study group, which you also showed in the other graph, right, where we saw the network between the different universities.
Yes, and if I may add here also on this slide, uh, you see that they increased the proportion of their highly cited papers threefold
Mm-hmm.
uh, from 1819 to 2324, whereas worldwide it's still 1% almost.
Mm-hmm.
I mean the same. Uh, it probably shouldn't change. In the regional group, it increased only by a few by like 30% or 40%. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 58%. And the international group it declined. Uh, this increase of threefold is also unprecedented. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it, it, it just doesn't happen like that.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
you cannot increase the quality set overnight, right? It takes a lot of time to improve the quality, and so this is definitely something which needs to be looked at. That how did such an increase happen, right, in such a short span of time?
Yes. And if I also give attention to something else as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the increase in research from 18 to 23, 24, I think increased by about 300 something percent in these
Mm-hmm.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the increase in the number of highly cited articles increased by around tenfold, more than
Mm-hmm.
tenfold.
Right.
Yeah, nearly 1,000, yeah, percent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. Thanks. And we come almost to the end. We just have like a few minutes left. So one question I had was that are you planning to share the raw data? Right? Because a lot of people again critique that because the data we are only sharing, you're only sharing the study group data, right? That there might be some other universities, right, which are being hidden behind. So are you planning to share the raw data with everyone, right, so that they can have full transparency and see what other universities metrics look like for the 1,000 universities that you had created initially, right?
I actually didn't hear your question properly.
Ah,
Are you talking about the data that are collected?
yeah. So the raw data. So
Oh, yes,
initially,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, yes. The data that I collected, I will definitely share, but I will do that only immediately, not only immediately after the manuscript has been accepted for publication.
Mhm.
So I will deposit all of them in our institutional repository and provide a link within the manuscript itself, and people can go there and download the data